So I'd like to call this June the 26th meeting of the Tecumseh Police Services Board to order. I note that Mayor McNamara has given his regrets. He cannot be here. We're fully stocked with people too and support, and so we can move on. Under Section C, disclosure of pecuniary interest. Is there any disclosure based on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. The approval of the agenda. I'm looking for a motion that the agenda for the Police Services Board meeting dated Monday, June the 26th, 2023, as duplicated and delivered to the members be accepted. I'm looking for a mover. Paul Sweet, seconded by Mark Gomes. In favor? Thank you. We pass. We want the approval of the previous minutes of our Police Service Board meeting on April 3rd. So I'd like a motion that the regular minutes of the April 3rd, 2023 Police Services Board meeting be duplicated and delivered to the members thereof be adopted. I'm looking for a mover. Mark, thank you. Seconded by Paul. In favor? Passed. Thank you. Delegations, there are none under item F. So we'll go to item G, which is our monthly report. And I understand Staff Sergeant Smith is going to present it, so that's good. So we're just going to rack it up here. Jamie, if you just wait 1 second, I think that's the wrong month. Try again. There. And I'll turn my mic off, so please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I assume you just want the May report for today. Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll go through the first, I'll wait till it goes on there for the top calls for service.
It might do well to yell at the page number for our tech support.
I've got page 4 on my document. I'm not sure if it's the same one you have there. Page 3, yeah. Page 4, okay, perfect. Okay, for top calls for service, and it seems to be from month to month, we keep seeing the traffic complaints are number 1 at 43 with MBCs in behind there. The alarms at 34, I did take a deeper dive into them, and it was a mix of residential and business alarms. It wasn't just solely the businesses. Bylaw. Same one you have. Bylaws, it was dogs barking. There was some parking complaints and some other noise complaints with music. You'll see in there with 19 family dispute, and that's one I haven't noticed in the top 10 in the past. And with that, there was one residence where we attended multiple times within that month for the same issue involving that family. So that's why that was a little bit higher this month. You can go to the next page, which will be page 5. Thank you. You can see in Tecumseh, the calls are staying relatively the same. We see an overall 2.4 increase for calls for service. In Tecumseh, we're at 458, down from 497 from the previous year. Page 6, please. For violent crime, compared to last year, there was an uptick there. I did note that when I took a deeper dive there, it was 6 assaults that were associated with the violent crimes. Property crime, staying relatively the same. We're up or down, sorry, a little bit. Overall, there's been an increase, but in Tecumseh, we did see it decreased by a few. And when I looked into that a little bit further, a lot of it was shoplifting, theft of gas at some places. And I know most places now you have to pay before you pump, but there are a couple gas stations that allow you to pump before you pay. And then there were some thefts from unlocked vehicles. Page 7, please. Motor vehicle collisions. Overall, we're seeing an increase of 15.6%. In Tecumseh, we did go down from 58 the previous year down to 39. With the fatalities, we haven't had any in Tecumseh so far. You can go to page 8, please. With the impaireds in Tecumseh, we are seeing a significant increase overall with an 85% increase. Tecumseh for last month, we had 3. And when I took a peek at them, and I know Mark, you've asked in the past in regards to these, we did find, or I did find 2 were local to Tecumseh and 1 was from Windsor. Driver's license suspensions, you'll see that's same as the impaired driving. We did have 1 more with the 4. People get their driver's license suspended for the impaireds, and the extra 1 there was probably a stunt driving or a 3-day suspension. Okay, page 9, criminal charges, staying relatively the same at 22. For the drug offenses, we did have 2 charges under the CDSA, and you'll see in the notable occurrences where that stems from afterwards. Thank you. Page 10, POA charges. We did see an increase here at 130 from 50 in the previous year and 111 in the previous year from that. We did have a traffic initiative last month. We are seeing overall a 70% increase in this area. We're asking the officers to be out there, be visible, lay those tickets, make those traffic stops, educate the public. You'll see in the traffic enforcement for Tecumseh with the stops, we had 108 stops with 130 tickets and 96 warnings. So a lot of these traffic stops resulted in multiple tickets being issued. And on an average, we're having approximately 27 recorded vehicle stops per day. Next page there, 11, mental health response unit. We did see a slight increase in Tecumseh with 13 from previous years of 8 and 10. Overall, we did see a decrease in these calls for service, and I'm hoping that our MHRU teams and our MCERT team and YCERT team are making a difference there by following up with individuals that are in crisis and providing the right resources to them. Then the next page, please, number 12. 911 missed dials, we had 14. False alarms, 34. Ride, and the inspector caught it this morning when we did Lakeshore is showing 2 when they actually had 16. I was hoping I could find the same error as well, but I could only add 1 to this, so we had 2. But the request did go out recently through the inspector to ensure that we're doing those ride programs every day in each community. So I'm sure we'll see that increase how we were in the past. Foot patrol hours, we're at 138, and then auxiliary hours, we're at 28. And then for notable investigations, the first one was a B&E in progress. We were alerted by the owner. He had surveillance cameras set up. We were fortunate to get our K9 Maximus, who's going to retire this month. We have something going on for him tomorrow. He's done very well. He has over 200 catches, and when we presented a plaque, it was probably about 3 or 4 years ago to his handler. He was at 100, and I said, well, we'll see you when you hit 200. Well, he said he didn't think he would see that, but he did. And I got to say, he's probably around 205 to 210. So Milan Matovsky will become a sergeant for us. So he was recently promoted. So we've got a great resource there with his skills and abilities. So once again, he was able to track these 4 individuals to a location in a grassy area within, I think it was like a 30-second track. It happened very quickly. So we had... No, yeah, that dog will bite you, chances are. And also in the one I referred to in regards to the CDSA charges, we did have an individual attend to Tim Hortons. It looked like he had a weapon in his waistband, which they believed was a gun at the time. They didn't call us for a couple hours later. The following day, the officer, due to some tattoos and whatnot, was able to identify the individual walking down one of the streets here locally. He was stopped. It was found that he had a knife in his waistband, and ended up charged with some offenses for cocaine and possess weapons dangerous. And that is a report, if there's any questions. Thank you.
Open it up for questions from the board members. Please, Ricardo.
Just a question. I know we do those traffic enforcement JFOs like on 401, Highway 3, Howard. Any plans on doing it in our small towns on, on those identified streets where we know there's speeders, not where, just a complaint comes in, but we know there's not actually speeding on that street. Any plans on using officers to do that kind of, movement around our towns and just do traffic for a few hours? That's it. The officers would do that kind of thing. Any of those kind of ideas?
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. We can get our traffic unit in, the members there. I know they're always doing JFOs with MTO, with LaSalle Police, with Windsor Police. And they try to stay on the areas where they're going to hit high volume of traffic, 401, County Road 22, Highway 3, EC Row Expressway, Huron Church. They'll hit all those areas normally, but yeah, we can bring them in at any time. If we have issues identified, we'll call them in and have them cover off those areas.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a couple. Recently, the city of Windsor, their police service has got a lot of good press on creation of a mental health response unit. How does its structure compare to the structure that OPP has been operating for several years? Is it the same type of systems? Is it, I don't know how it's funded even, but I mean, I'm just curious.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the rest of the board, I'm not familiar specifically with how Windsor's is set up. We have a good friend that is down there that we can look into it a little bit further, but ours is done as we have an overarching mental health response unit.
Yeah.
And then we have broken down into our MCERT and our YCERT programs. And some of that additional funding is through the CSP grants.
I guess selfishly, I was just wondering if they would be going after the same grant structure, or they were funding it internally. I mean, it's certainly been successful for us. And I think we're very glad to have it operating the way it is here in Tecumseh. So, and one more question is my favorite thing now that the weather is coming nicely and we still have vandalism going on. Are we looking at the final training and putting our bike patrols out in the parks?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we did complete our bicycle course and we have 18 in total, but 3 of those are from external. So our hope is to be able to put those out in groups. We need to have 2 officers together most time for enforcement purposes, but nothing is prohibiting officers from grabbing a bicycle and going out there and patrol around the parks any time of day or night.
Well, that's excellent. And any other questions? Well, it's a shame to see Maximus go. I would characterize him as a cruise missile with fur. It's an impressive animal. Is there a dog in training that will step into that role?
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the board. So that is done through a provincial program, the K9 program. Given our high calls for service down in this area, as well as our geographical location, I would expect to see another K9 be purchased and trained. It is quite an extensive program, maybe 6 months in total, to have a fully equipped K9. However, we do have some other K9s throughout the province. If they are looking to lateral, just like an officer would, they would come with that tool most likely.
Just to supplement that, so does one of your serving officers in Essex County have to volunteer, step forward to say they would like to be a dog handler and learn to work with the dog? Or, please.
That's correct. If somebody has an interest, they have run programs for those that are interested to go through some of the training and collect a pool of people. So we would have to have somebody that was interested locally.
Okay. Now, Angela, is your voice back? Because I have another question for you. And I know. I just wanted you to comment on the grant program that we have signed out off, and then we can just put that to bed if we could.
Thank you very much for that question. And just for the awareness of the board, I had some conversations with our mental health response unit coordinator, Blake Coho. And when when we originally, as Essex County as a whole, applied for the CSP grant, at that time, Leamington was not eligible because they were not a Section 10 board at that time. They were a 5.1. So they were not participating in that application. So now that they have resumed their role as a Section 10 board, they qualify for their portion already pre-designated. It just required each of the other boards who had signed the transfer of payment agreement to agree that they understood that Leamington was now looking to be on that transfer agreement, because it is a formal document that the government sends over.
That's good. Any other questions at all? Okay. So under that, I would like a motion that the OPP report for the months of March through May be received. And I'm looking for mover. Paul, seconder, Rick, Rico, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Me too. Mine's allergies, so I'm going to say that. This has been a brutal allergy season. Terrible. Reports, under item H. Now, Mark has volunteered to report on our Zone 6 meeting, and I have a little question out of that. We'll say that for new business. Please, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we did have our Zone 6 meeting on Friday, May the 26th. It was hosted by the Windsor Police Services at Caesars Windsor, and our chair and myself were both present representing OPP Tecumseh Board. There was greetings by Chief Jason Belair, and we had a guest presenter that was Deputy Inspector General Ken Wetherill, Office of the Inspector General of Ontario. He spoke on numerous things, the Inspectorate of Policing, Investigation, Inspection, and Liaison branch. He gave us an overview. Basically, they get authorities from the Safety and Policing Act of 2019. Their mandate of Inspector of Policing is to advise and monitor compliance under the CPSA legislation, provides legislative framework to establish an Inspectorate of Policing led by the Inspector General of Policing. The new Regulations Act, still not etched in stone as of May 26th. They're hoping to be proclaimed sometime in June of this year, and we're June 26th, so I haven't heard anything. He also informed us that the minister would be attending the spring conference in Niagara Falls. The Inspector General reviewed their oversight of different entities with respect to the Act. The Inspections Unit, core responsibility of policing, Inspectors Unit is to conduct compliance of inspections under the police service inspection process, which included 4 phases. Then we had the Ministry of the Solicitor General. Presenter was Tom Gervais, who's also our rep for Zone 6. He spoke briefly on the new act, which will affect the boards. Example, the size, the budgeting, appointments. There'll be obviously many changes to the regulations as we all foresee this. The minister has advocated to appoint someone to review the present act and the new act because of all the new changes. And Tom did state that once this is compiled, that he can provide copies to the boards. Then we had the OACP, Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, presented by Chief Nishan Durapa, who is the Peel Regional Police Service and president of the OACP. He loves to talk, more so than me even. He's fantastic, actually. He's a great presenter. And he could have basically taken the whole day with his presentations, but he discussed what I took as the 5 most crucial points on the list of many outstanding concerns that he has. The number 1 was need for more and quote unquote boots on the ground is the greater need that's right now. He also discussed the pre-charging screen. There's just too many people that are in our court systems. Number 3 was decriminalization, and that's example of simple possession. Again, it's time consuming, and we know what the standards are nowadays. Firearms, another number 1 concern, the restrictions of it and the buyback of them, because the firearms are just putting our officers in jeopardy, and something that we're very aware of. And then the number 5 was facial recognition. And he says there's lots of efficiencies for policing if that was to come to be for facial recognition. So again, there was many other items that he brought, but those were the 5 main points that I thought that he spoke on. Then we broke out into our Zone 6 meeting for the boards. And Lisa Darling, the new executive director of the OASPB, she was presenting on Zoom. It was nice to see her, and we actually got to meet her obviously in Niagara Falls a few days later. She talked about Community Safety Policing Act. Again, she stated that it was a proclamation likely in June of this year. And she says that the enforcement date would probably be early of 2024. She talked about transfer of payments agreement with the ministry to support boards training needs over the next 3 years. She spoke about Community Safety and Policing Act, and under the CSPA, mandated thematic training. This will be requested, or will be not requested, required to successfully complete the Solicitor General approved training. Therefore, that means mandatory training for all boards that will come across the province. And then she discussed provincial appointees. We are very fortunate here with our board. We have our 2 appointed board members from the province, but there are boards that do not have them. They're going to remain vacant. And only once the proclamation of the act occurs, the ministry will work on filling those positions under the new structure of boards. As we know, there are going to be some board structures that will be changing. There's also a development of a new app that they're working on, and they kind of showed us in the conference. We didn't know that yet, but they did show us at the conference. And then she mentioned about the conference, obviously, on May 30th in Niagara Falls. Then Tom Gervais spoke again for our Zone 6. And he basically said under the Section 10 boards, the ministry looked at all the proposals from the boards, as you know, that we had put forth, and no decision had been made on any of them officially. Then he talked about the transition of the boards, and our chair, Chris, made comments and questions regarding that. And basically he said the existing boards will be dissolved, new appointments will occur, no policing agreements under the new act. Then we had a treasurer's report, and the 2022 year end was presented. And we had a motion that was carried to sponsor Zone 6, sponsored the 2023 OAPSB conference. And there was no meeting decided of which date that would be forthcoming. That is my report, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. So the only one point I would maybe make is that Tom Gervais is the backup representative for Zone 6. He is currently assigned into Zone 1A. That's about as far north and as far west as you get, and still be in the province of Ontario. So he did a yeoman's service to us to come in and speak both at the Chiefs of Police meeting and then at our association meeting. So going along on section H under reports, we have a even lengthier report, which it's written, so we won't go through it. It was to do with our spring conference and our annual general meeting. I would say that both Mark and Paul helped greatly with me to pull that together. And as always, Ellen and Margaret do a great job of wordsmithing when we run afoul. So I very much appreciate that. So with regard to section 8 of the meeting reports, I'm looking for a motion to the reports of the Ontario Association of Police Service Board Zone 6 meeting held in Windsor on May 26th, and the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards Spring Conference and Annual General Meeting held in Niagara Falls on May 30th through June the 1st be received. Paul, thank you. And Mark, thank you. All in favor? I appreciate that. Communications for information purposes only. We have a good response to a meeting we had with regard to bail reform, and that's we've seen that now in the news. That's coming forefront, and that's sadly needed. A letter that's sent from myself on behalf of our board with regard to the death of Sergeant Eric Mueller, and also a response from Commissioner Kerrigan with regard to Creek, with regard to that letter, and I thank him for that. And then sadly, we had to do another letter, on behalf of Detective Constable Steve Torangeau. So on item 5 are the Ontario Association of Police Service Boards Spring Conference sponsorship, where it was an acknowledgement that we at the town of Tecumseh provides a sponsorship to that. I'm looking for a motion that the correspondence detailed in our first 5 items under this section be received. I'm looking for mover Rico. Thank you. Seconded by Mark. All in favor. Thank you very much. I can't believe we're moving through this so quickly. New business, the police appreciation service at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Now I will save your voice. Okay. So I was approached by Ross Clark. I've known Ross Clark for many, many years. He's a retired Ontario land surveyor, ran a very successful land surveying business for many years. He's a senior member of St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. He was just absolutely heartbroken and appalled at the carnage of police officers across this country, and particularly in our province. And he expressed to me that he felt that we really needed to do something to show our appreciation for the police services that we have here on the North Shore. So he asked me to get involved with them. And at that point, I told him that really I needed to bring this to the board, because to have any weight, we needed to have our board support. I also suggested that he contact Ed Hooker, who's chair of the Lakeshore's board. And I said, and Lakeshore would do that. And I also promised him that I would ask that our board make a recommendation to Tecumseh Council to back this up. But I said, before we start, it is incumbent upon him to contact our detachment commander. I said, because the OPP would really need to get involved and set some of the ground rules as to what they would like to see happen in the public in their name. So I forwarded Angela your name. And I've been copied on some correspondence that he has been in touch with you. Now, I don't know if your voice can carry on. Okay, so perhaps you could fill in the blanks. I would very much appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, we are very pleased to receive that email suggestion for a way to honor officers, especially our OPP members. So I've had conversations with him and have reached out within our organization to ensure that risk management is aware if there's anything that we needed to do to look through those processes, and certainly from an officer safety perspective as well. So I'm going to continue to work with that, and we were looking at sometime in the fall to hopefully have that open up an opportunity for officers to come together in that format. So
just to continue on with my thought process, there are so many things that this can be and can't be that, there needs to be ongoing discussions. I don't know if St. Andrew's Presbyterian sees this as a multi-denominational presentation, if they want to open it up to other church congregations in this area. I think they would find an astounding amount of support for that. So there needs to be ongoing discussions. And before this meeting, I had asked our Councillor Tenale if he would represent our board in these discussions and then report back to us and keep this so we know what to do. So I think from our board, what I think I need a motion that we would support and that yeah. So I'm looking for a motion then that we would support and that Councillor Tenale represent our interests in this. I promise to introduce you through emails to Ross. You may even know him. He's been a Tecumseh resident for a long time. Okay, so I'll do all that for you and I'll give you the information that I have to date. So with that, I've had a motion and I'm looking for a seconder. Okay, Mark, all in favor? Thank you. I think it's also, since we made the promise to Tecumseh Town, to Ross, that we would get the town of Tecumseh support. I'm looking for a motion that the Police Service Board for the town of Tecumseh endorse the proposed police appreciation service plan for September, which we've done, and further that we have, oh boy, I'll try it again, planned on September 2023 at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church, and that our board member, which is be appointed as a liaison, and further that the correspondence be sent to Tecumseh Town Council requesting endorsement of this event. So I guess that's covered. We've double covered. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Under new business, we have none listed, although I had something I needed to ask. Is there something else? Yeah, yes, please, Ricardo.
Do we need a motion for the second one? Like a.
So Rico had moved it and Mark had seconded. Is that not good? Well, I didn't, yeah, I guess you're right. That's probably not a good piece of business. So let's have a friendly amendment to that and we'll. No, I can't make a motion. So Mark, would you move that, please? Okay.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
And seconded then by Paul. Thank you very much. Now, all in favor. I appreciate that. That's keeping us on the up and up. So to finalize one little small piece of new business, at our Zone 6 meeting, several members of police service boards, both Section 10 and Section 31, started talking about they wanted to forcefully move forward and make applications to their school boards to allow community service officers, or that they had other terms, some municipalities use a different term, to have total access to schools. And they said, what's Tecumseh doing about it? And I said, we have access in our separate school system, but I said, I don't know if it's even the place of a police service board to make a demand on a school board. I said, I don't know if the school boards tell the police service or if the police services asks the school boards. So I said, I'll bring it up at our meeting. I'm not sure what the system is with regard to how this field is established between school boards and the Ontario Provincial Police, whether it comes locally, whether it's through Aurelia, or whether school boards just tell Aurelia what they will allow, and that comes down. And with your, if you're able to, could you enlighten us?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I looked into it a little bit further. I was aware that in 2022, there was a provincial review done. Review of community police presence and programs in our schools were done across the board. The review ended in 2022 and reports are published. There is one on the on the Greater Essex District School Board website. You can go on there and review that. It makes some recommendations within it. Essentially, when COVID occurred, we halted most of the programs in schools and other places as well. And then this review was in the process of being done. As a recommendation of that review, it was determined that all police presence programs would be halted in our public school systems. We still continue to be very active in our Catholic school and our French Catholic school programs. Our school resource officers, you also met Constable Whitelaw at our previous meeting. They are still very much engaged with the youth in our communities. Our officers are engaged in many aspects, but there is a bit of a holding pattern right now for us to return into the public school for those police presence programs. So at the same time, the OPP is conducting our own review. Dr. Schulenberg out of Waterloo, University of Waterloo, is heading up our review of ways that that we can have innovative ways to encourage our youth in our communities. So that is being done consecutively at the same time. Right now, we are, like I said, in a holding pattern when it comes to the public schools, but we are still continuing to engage in offering up public engagements where we are out answering questions and engaging with youth wherever we go. I can share with you that any interactions that we do have, even with public school teachers and the youth, are all still very positive. It's just while they're looking at doing looking at their review and looking at their determination, we are honoring that at this time. So I can share with you that our school resource officers will continue to look for preventative measures, educational materials that we can provide our youth in all of our communities. And they still remain placed on committees and offering up that police aspect from it. So we're not without a seat at the table for conversations still. And you know, potentially the public school board will review their decision at some point and then they'll let us know, but we don't.
Well, I thank you very much. And that's well said. Putting a more global view on that. This week we received this report, which it's an update, a joint statement from the Ontario Human Rights Commission with regard to Peel Regional Police and Peel Regional Police Services Board, with regarding the exploration of ways to stop systemic racism, and there's many points to it. One of the things that they strongly recommend is the removal of police officers in the school systems in Peel. You know, now in our spring conference, as part of our discussions about careers in policing, about the perception of policing in Ontario, one of the things that our association, the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police, are agonizing over is that it's very difficult to put a different face on policing if youth don't see police, if they are not part of their everyday, and they don't understand that they can have interactions with the police service without it being a bad thing. So I guess our association I got from what was they were agonizing over that, and I think the chiefs are agonizing over that is how can they be a physical presence to the youth and let them understand that you know that they're there to help and you know answer questions, and you know, especially in high school, people want to understand about careers in policing. I mean, who can they ask, you know, if they can't ask a police officer? So I'm glad for your answer, and I just say that there are many eyes looking at this from all different you know, from the policing side of it, and the school boards, I guess, and the human rights people are making their decisions. I'm not sure, you know, how they can reconcile, but because there's obviously two diametrically opposed views on, you know, in Peel. And Peel is by no means a small policing region. That's a big operation. So that's all I had to add. Please, Paul, yes, you've got a good perspective on this. I was just.
No, I just through you, Mr. Chair, to the inspector, just want to clarify it for the public perspective is what policing in schools, though, this does not affect emergency response, emergency planning and at the schools, like you're really just clarifying that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that is correct. We still respond to the school if there's a call for service. We still conduct our own training for our officers on how to respond to any active threats. We are still very much engaged on that.
Yeah, it's always been our understanding that you have lockdown protocols that are reviewed constantly. And that's outside of, like I say, the presence we're looking at is how do youth see police, get a chance to engage with police officers on a non-threatening basis. Anyway. So any other new business that was not, no, well, that's wonderful. So that under item M, our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, October 22nd. We have the summer off. So under N, under adjournment, yes, please. What did I say? Oh, October the 2nd, 2023. Sorry about that. So I'm looking for a motion that there being no further business to discuss, that this meeting of the Tecumseh Police Service Board be adjourned. Moved by Paul, seconded by Rico. All in favor. Thank you. We're done.